Over the past weekend, we learned that Matt Gaetz would be seeking the removal of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. Why? Well, in a simplified manner of speaking, Kevin McCarthy be acting a fool. And there are members of Congress who negotiated certain degrees of power on the Republican side to make sure that we, people of a more libertarian, more freedom faction, anti-establishment mindset, actually can gain some ground in fixing Washington, D.C. Now, the big battle that we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks has been whether or not there's going to be a shutdown and how spending bills will be handled. It is no secret I'm a big fan of Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz right now is working to stop this ridiculous omnibus spending program, whatever you want to call it, tactic. Basically, here's how it works. How does the government get funding for programs? High-ranking members of the political parties meet in secret with lobbyists and then draft this 5,000-page bill that nobody gets to read, and they say, fund it or else. Seriously. There's that famous picture where they wheel in 5,000 pages on a wagon, and then they're expected to just sign it. That's not Congress. That's not, as the Democrats would put it, democracy. It's not even a constitutional republic. It's autocracy. It's oligopoly. Insert whatever phrase for a bunch of rich people control the system, and there you go. That's what it is. So we got some ground. Last week, we had Matt Gaetz on the show. I think it was last week. Was it last week? And he was talking about how basically we're moving towards single subject spending bills. That's the plan. You block the omnibus with just a few members of Congress, and it doesn't go through because Democrats aren't supporting it. And what happens? Republicans will be forced to say, okay, fine. We want to at least fund, say, veterans benefits. Let's get that bill through. Congratulations. You begin winning on single subject spending bills. Why? The reason it's important is that they do things like funding the war in Ukraine or the Department of Education. And Matt Gaetz made this point. Why should we, even if you wanted to support Ukraine, why are you forced to sign on to support the Department of Education? You should be able to say, hey, no money for this, but money for this. And more importantly, if we break this down into single subject bills, then you can actually negotiate. You can go to someone and say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll agree to your funding for X if you agree to fund Y. I think all around it's better. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We now have this story from Fox News. House GOP members seek to expel Matt Gaetz amid renewed threat to vacate House Speaker McCarthy. That's right. This is a crazy story. Matt Gaetz says he's coming for Kevin McCarthy, and now you've got members of the Republican Party trying to oust Matt Gaetz himself. And you know what? They are investigating BS reasons to try and do it. Basically, what Fox News is reporting is that, well, you know, there's been an active ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz for misappropriated funds and blah, blah, blah. And that's our justification. Oh, spare me, dude. Spare me. You've got Jamal Bowman. You guys probably saw this over the weekend. Yeah. Now, I don't care for the conspiracy theories, and the Democrats are desperately trying to use the conspiracy theory as a defense. Jamal Bowman pulled the fire alarm, thus delaying a vote on spending. And I think it's funny. He was in a different building. And so now what's happening is, you know, I point out Jamal Bowman is dangerously stupid. And I hate being crass, right? But Jamal Bowman's basically saying, I thought the fire alarm opened the door. Really? You thought that would open the door? Okay, well, you're a moron. There's a big sign saying fire alarm, emergency exit only. And if you try and open it, the alarm will sound. So he pulls a fire alarm. Now, because of that, a lot of people believe he was trying to delay the vote. He still voted on it. He supported it, I guess. And you've got a lot of people who are, a lot of the Democrats are like, well, he was in a different building. I mean, I love this. I tweeted this out. These people are dangerously stupid. And I immediately get the crackpot defense from Democrats being like, he was in a totally different building, dude. And I was like, did I say he was trying to delay the vote? Like, dude literally said he thought pulling the fire alarm would open the door. Now, here's my point. Here's why I bring up this guy. You're trying to remove Matt Gaetz. Meanwhile, you have people like Adam Schiff who published the private records of an American journalist. You've got Jamal Bowman pulling a fire alarm. But it's so obvious to anybody who pays attention to what is wrong with our political system. Matt Gaetz came for Kevin McCarthy and said, we must change the system. And they said, we will remove you for this. It's brutal. It's a bummer, but that's just the way it works. Let's read a little bit. We got House GOP members are preparing a motion to expel Rep. Matt Gaetz amid his renewed threat to pursue a motion to vacate House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. The House Republican members will seek to expel Gaetz if the Ethics Committee report comes back with findings of guilt. One member told Fox News the report is mostly written, but does not know what it contains. Yet following threats to vacate McCarthy, the member said of Gaetz, no one can stand him at this point. A smart guy without morals. Okay, let me say this again. The member said of Gaetz, no one can stand him, a smart guy without morals. I want to say I despise members of Congress and what it is, but I don't feel that that actually captures the true passion of hatred that I have for these people. Following threats to vacate McCarthy, the member said of Gaetz, are you kidding me? This system is so absolutely corrupt. I got to tell you, I'm not surprised leftists want a revolution against the corporate neo-lib neocon uniparty. It takes 2/3 vote to expel. Republicans are treading on thin ice with their majority. The House is down to 433 members. They don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I will say this. I'm not so convinced that Democrats are going to go along with removing Matt Gaetz. So it seems like it's not going to happen. Because as far as Democrats are concerned, they're getting leveraged because Matt Gaetz is feuding with Kevin McCarthy. Now, my view is, you know what, man? There are real challenges when it comes to elections. For instance, should RFK Jr. run as an independent? The challenge is some people think this will pull votes from Trump. Anti-establishment candidate on the ballot, Trump's going to lose votes because you're going to have people who would say, I will vote for Trump before I vote for Biden, Kamala, Newsom, you name it. But there's also the argument that it's going to pull votes from the Democrats who don't want to support Newsom or Joe Biden. It's hard to know for sure. If Newsom ends up being the nominee, RFK Jr. could spike Donald Trump. But as who said this last week? I think it was Phil. Phil said Donald Trump's bottom is pretty solid. And I thought that was a very interesting way to phrase it. But what he means is, not in the way it sounds, Donald Trump's floor of support doesn't change. He has people who will not vote for someone else. So it's likely to just end up spiking Joe Biden or whoever the Democrat is. But I digress. This is the issue. With Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy feuding, Democrats are getting an edge. It's creating opportunity for them. And now Kevin McCarthy is working deals, trying to fund the war in Ukraine, cutting backroom deals with Democrats to get this bill through. And they did. And this is where we are. I think, we have this. This is another big part of the story. Matt Gaetz says he will move to oust House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. I know it's funny. Originally, I'm like, we should probably do a segment talking about the removal of McCarthy. But now they're trying to remove Matt Gaetz. But the deal's been made. USA Today, Congress dodged a government shutdown. Here are the winners and losers in a messy fight. Congress narrowly avoided a government shutdown, extending funding through November 17th, but the deal didn't come without winners and losers. The temporary deal, referred to as a continuing resolution, keeps government funding at current levels until November 17th. The legislation kicks the can down the road while lawmakers try to negotiate a longer-term solution. I'm a big fan of Matt Gaetz. We're going to have Matt Gaetz at our special live event. We're here in Miami. You notice everything looks a little bit different. We're doing the show from Miami this Friday. We will be hanging out with Matt Gaetz. Hopefully, man, this ongoing fight is brutal. And I know everyone's super excited to see him, but I hope everyone also understands this is one of the most important fights in U.S. politics in a very long time. I don't want to say it's like the most important thing, but it's one of. We've been on this omnibus spending thing for 30 years. And I was surprised to hear this. We had Matt on the show. I was like, wait, Matt, you're saying this could be the first time in decades we stop the omnibus spending bills? And he's like, yes, it may be the first time so far. Understand, man, when we look at these omnibus spending bills, it's like $12 million for gender studies in Pakistan. And there are reasons why they do it. It's not meaningless. The general idea is get other people, other nations to use U.S. dollars by giving them U.S. dollars to prop up confidence in the petrodollar. That's it. That's the idea. So a lot of people are like, what's the point of doing this? All that's going to happen is the Pakistani government's going to pocket the money for themselves, make themselves super rich. You bet. Welcome to the international class system of the petrodollar. People who run governments get free money and will be rich forever because the U.S. wants other nations using U.S. dollars, the petrodollar. They want all oil traded in U.S. dollars. And here's the game they play. It's the devil's deal. I guess, call it a Faustian deal. They basically say, submit to us and we'll make you kings. And these people are like, works for me. I don't care about my people. The general idea, of course, is that all oil is traded in U.S. dollars. And what happens when China goes to Pakistan and says, we're going to give you yuan and you can use the yuan to buy oil? They say, that sounds good to us. We can buy a lot of stuff with that. But what does China have to offer in terms of luxury? If the U.S. gives dollars to Pakistan, Pakistan says, look, we've got U.S. dollars. We're being given this. And right now, U.S. dollars can buy me a Maserati. Okay, I'm going to keep the U.S. dollars, and we don't want the petrodollar system to fail because then we stand to fail as well. Basically, they're buying off as many people as possible to be a part of the system, and they extract from you to take from your tax dollars, to take from your savings, to increase inflation, to prop up this system. Omnibus spending includes provisions to do this, to run this system. Now, of course, there's a risk here. If we go the honorable route, could the U.S. lose its standing? It could, but I'm actually of the opinion that the U.S. maintains its standing by running this route under the Trump MAGA method or persuasion, I would call it. Basically, the idea being we secure our borders. We encourage people to have families. We bring manufacturing back to this country. We start expanding economically and developing our own country. How about Alaska? Alaska got a lot of opportunity and a lot of natural resources. This makes the U.S. strong and bolsters our capabilities internationally. The general idea right now among the intelligence agencies, at least publicly known, because there's a lot of things they know we don't know, is that, no, it's better to have military supremacy at the expense of the United States because the U.S. doesn't matter. They're changing the rules. They're gutting the system. I saw a billboard for the Marines as I'm driving down the highway. We're making our way to where we're staying here in Miami. And it said, some line about America's line of defense or whatever. And I'm just like, people don't want to be in the military. They're actively quitting. We are in a recruitment crisis. They're ripping apart what it means to be American and what it means to defend America. And they're bringing in non-citizens. And, it's funny. The media goes the racist route because that's their deflection. I don't think allowing migrants into this country has anything to do with race. I think that's silly. I think it has more to do with people who are not raised on American values and Judeo-Christian moral frameworks. Even Bill Maher, as I've made this point numerous times, has a Judeo-Christian moral framework. That's how he sees the world. Is he perfect? Of course not. He supports a lot of bad policies. But for the longest time, even liberals in this country, even though you might be atheist, they don't even realize that the values of the founding fathers and the Bill of Rights are deeply rooted in, yes, the Bible. Seriously. I got interested one day, and a lot of you who watch all my segments, you'll know this, but for those that haven't seen it, I got interested one day and started looking at the origins for the amendments, why it was the founding fathers thought we needed these things. There's big arguments about free speech and gun rights, obviously. So I said, what happened to them? Well, obviously, the Third Amendment, super obvious. No soldiers quartering in private residences. Aha. Yeah, because the crown was sending regulars to the colonies and then being like, find a house and live in it. And they were like, dude, enough. You can't do that. And then it turns out the right to a speedy trial, the right to confront your accusers, all of these things, innocent until proven guilty, come from a Christian moral framework. I said Judeo-Christian because, there's shared teachings, typically Christians. And the idea was, if there's but one righteous man, I will not condemn this city. The idea, Sodom and Gomorrah, the idea that you cannot condemn the innocent just for it's an opposition to a utilitarian framework. But here we are today, my friends. Here we are today. Let me pull up some tweets for you. And it seems like it's all being, ripped out from underneath. Matt Gaetz says, wow, Speaker McCarthy made a side Ukraine deal with Democrats and didn't tell House Republicans until after his continuing resolution passed. More deceit. Yeah, I'm on Matt Gaetz's side. I'm sorry, dude. These people are, here's Jake Sherman. House Democrat leader statement. That was actually a Freudian slip. When the House returns, we expect Speaker McCarthy to advance a bill to the House floor for an up and down vote that supports Ukraine, consistent with his commitment to making sure that Vladimir Putin, Russia, and authoritarianism are defeated. We must stand with the Ukrainian people until victory is won. I love this so much. We had a conversation about last week about Cenk Uygur possibly running for president. He can't. He's not American. That's my understanding. But I said I'd probably vote for him over any uniparty. If it's like Mitt Romney versus Joe Biden, I'd vote for Cenk Uygur. And it's like, oh, wow, but he's a far left. He's a communist. And I'm like, sure, that's true. But we can win these cultural fights. I think putting an anti-establishment person of any persuasion in the system mucks it up quite a bit, because this is what you get. How did we go from no intervention, no war, Democrats, George W. Bush is Hitler, and now, what are we looking at, 15 years later, maybe 17, 18 years later, you now have Democrats working side deals with Republican leadership to advance war funding. I'm sorry. These leftists, these progressives who are defending this stuff? Absolutely insane. And I'll give a shout out to our good friend Hassan Piker, because this is I made a video where I was like, he is correct about Mr. Beast. And then I made a point about foreign war, that these bills are just giving money to the military industrial complex. It is a scam. And then he's like, what are we supposed to do? Leave Ukraine on their own? Like this guy's actually saying leave Ukraine. I'm like, yes. Yes, quite literally. I have grown up in an age of we have burned American resources and revenue for the military industrial complex at the expense of our own citizens. You've got, and what's the argument? You've got the pipes in Flint, in Newark, in Pittsburgh. These famous stories where the left were screaming, the pipes, they have lead in them. And I'm like, great. How about we pull 1 billion of the 100+ billion we've sent to Ukraine and fix pipes? They won't do it because they don't care about you. This is a captured nation. It is occupied by these extremists, and they don't care. Your labor funds their wars for conquest, and they will justify it by saying you live so well in your chicken coop. That's how they view you. You're a chicken. I know. Everybody's like, Tim likes talking about chickens. No, but I mean this. The view is you are but a chicken that produces in your 15-minute city. They've got other things to worry about, and they don't care. If 20% of the chickens die, but they're still getting the product, they don't care. They don't. We, the people who are supposed to be the ones running this country, are saying we want better things. This is the problem with monarchy, autocracy, authoritarianism. You become a cog in the machine. All that matters to the machine is the output you produce, and you can be replaced. But this country is supposed to be of, for, and by the people. And I will tell you this, my friends, we're winning. A lot of people don't want to believe it, but we're absolutely winning. When Matt Gaetz is able to lead the fight that he is leading, when we had that defiant crew that was refusing to get to vote for McCarthy, that is winning. Again, Bud Light, Target, Disney, Sound of Freedom, Richmond, north of Richmond. These are cultural victories, economic victories. Public Square, shout out. Guys, download the Public Square app. Now, I'm going to tell you. It's one of the things I'm most excited about. This Friday, we're doing this Miami event sponsored by Public Square. Public Square is the anti-Amazon. You open this app, it shows you a map of businesses in your area and businesses online that support American values. It's how we win. It is an honor and a privilege that they're sponsoring the show we're doing when I already view them as one of the most powerful paths to winning the culture war. Having these businesses outright say you reject communism and this garbage, and you believe in our American values, and you want to sell beef jerky, and then we can support the companies that support us. You know the funny thing, it's not about being conservative. It's not about being a Republican. I probably disagree with Matt Gaetz on a lot of things. A lot. But you know what I care about right now? It is only on the Republican side, the effort to dismantle the machine state, the corrupt war machine, the corrupt revolving door politics. It's remarkable to me that I grew up in an era. I'm a kid when you have the battle in Seattle, it was called. The World Trade Organization protests. The left were protesting. Remarkable. They were protesting these international treaties. And then it is the Democrats who supported Biden who and supported Hillary and supported Obama, who wanted the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Basically, WTO on steroids. Trump gets in first thing, nukes it. And I said, where are the Occupy Wall Street people to be cheering for this? Nope, they lost their minds. During Occupy, these are the Obama years, I get all these leftists being like, TPP is bad. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, it's so bad. It's terrible. It's going to do all these awful things. And I'm like, so vote for Trump. Hillary Clinton supports it. No, you can't vote for Trump. He's a fascist. Y'all lost your minds. Lost your minds. Here's what I see. Matt Gaetz is not, this is not a fight over abortion. You want to have a left-right tax debate? Sure. You want to have a left-right abortion debate? That one's wild. This is Matt Gaetz saying, hey, maybe members of Congress should vote on individual spending. And then we can choose to support war or not support war, or support education or not. And what do the Democrats say? More for the machine. Uphold the fractured system. And Kevin McCarthy and the majority of Republicans also agree, to the extent they want to remove Matt Gaetz. This system is unsustainable. I guess the hope is eventually the American people fall asleep and give up, and it becomes the cultural and political norm that we just let them do whatever they want. I think we're winning. And I think it's why they're getting so desperate. And I can't deal with this one where people are like, no, Tim, we're not winning. They're arresting people. They arrested Trump. And I'm like, bro, that's horrifying desperation, right? Let's talk about nature. A bird. Why are birds typically not very aggressive? Blue jays are pretty brutal, stealing nests and kicking the eggs out and things like that. Yeah, we get it. But for the most part, if you encounter a bird, the bird will not fight you. Why? The bird can leave. It expels less energy to leave. But what about a badger? What about burrowing animals? Burrowing animals have one dimension to move in. Birds have three. Ground critters have two. Birds can go up, down, left, right, et cetera, et cetera. They can go forward, backward. They can go into the sky and then just be on their way. Birds can be aggressive too. They're fighting other birds. See, like a badger, for instance, super vicious. Why? In a burrow, if a predator comes to your hole, your burrow, you have only one move: fight or die. You have nowhere left to go. You are backed into a corner. You take any animal and back them into a corner, and guess what? Everybody knows they fight. This is what we're seeing with Democrats. They are losing culturally. They are losing politically. They're backed into a corner. So the only thing they have left is vicious lashing out. Arrest and indict Trump. Destroy his businesses. Lie about the value of Mar-a-Lago for some weird reason. It's desperation. They have been backed into the corner. They have been routed. Their central, the central line has ruptured. Their ranks are breaking, and we are charging in to the battlefield of culture with things like Public Square, with Elon buying X, with Rumble. They are trying and they are failing. So there's a battle right now. The left says the old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Sort of true. Sort of true. The old world is dying. Depends on how you define the old world. The left views the current establishment as a means to an end and constitutional republicanism as wrong. They want international borderless communism. How do we view it? A renewed and reestablished classically liberal meritocratic system of elected representatives and community responsibility. It's not just about individual responsibility. Conservatives are very much about your duty to each other. There is a path lying before us as the old world dies. We can go the route of communism, or we can go the route of classical liberalism. Now, I'm not saying outright abject classical liberalism. Not every conservative likes it. And I'm not talking about quote unquote liberals. Classical liberalism is the idea of individual liberties, live and let live, etc. It's fairly libertarian, but it can only be maintained if there is a shared moral framework. So it's not absolute libertarianism. It's more so a moral framework rooted in traditional American values and respect for the individual, but renewed. Now, Carl Benjamin said that's reactionary. I disagree. We are trying to make something new. We are trying to progress. Just because the founding fathers envisioned something doesn't mean they implemented it. In fact, they did not. They planted the seeds. Those seeds have been growing. Ended up with the ending of slavery. A lot of countries ended slavery, not all of them. It's still really bad around the world. Resulted in civil rights, and it brings us to where we are now. The tree of liberty was not something the founding fathers just planted fully grown. It was seeds they put in the ground. And the tree of liberty has grown quite large. The question is now, who will maintain it, or will it be chopped down? I say we plant new saplings. We grow new trees of liberty. We take what the founding fathers envisioned. We make something new and something better. Constitutional values, traditional moral frameworks as we've known them, and the far left communistic oppressor versus oppression and blah, blah, blah garbage out the window. The corporate oligopoly, autocracy, you name it, gone. I think we're winning this one. Why? Because rooted in what we want and what we see is the values of America for which we were raised and the ideals that we believe in. The left, they've got an uphill battle. They're marching through the institutions to steal this, but they're not having kids. And they're advocating against having kids. In the meantime, the battle is on. I don't think they're going to they'll expel Matt Gaetz. That would be insane. You'd get all that would happen is Matt Gaetz's district would probably send him back with a standing ovation. Let them try. But Kevin McCarthy may be removed as speaker. Matt Gaetz may make this move. So shout out to Matt Gaetz. Best of luck. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.